Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Hello, magical ones. Welcome to the show. In today's modern world, women are living mundane lives and selling themselves short to secure the love, approval, and safety of a spiritless society instead of living as their magical, powerful, soulful selves. So I've created a beautiful, free new moon circle to take the tender first steps of living your wild alchemy. It's called Manifesting with the Moon, and it's a monthly gathering of witch sisters seeking to manifest magical lives on their terms. Get up close and intimate with me and book your free ticket to join us at www.nicolebarton.co.uk/moon-circle. In today's episode, I am excited to be freestyling on the juicy topic of how to invoke the power of your liberated witch. For most secret witches, their creation of life is unconscious, yet to truly tread the path of living your wild alchemy, we must engage in the practice of magic to invoke our power to create what we truly desire. This is real life magical practice, and it's not just a nice to have, it's essential for life creation. In this episode, I help you understand how to begin to take the next steps into harnessing your power from love, consciously choosing to devote yourself to the path of your liberated witch, illuminating what might be holding you back, and beginning to fully embody your unique power. Let's dive in. Well, welcome. This is a juicy topic this week because we're here to talk today, or I am here to talk today, about invoking the power of our liberated witch. And it's an interesting one because the very mention of the word power often has a lot of secret witches shuddering because of its association with much negative masculine connotations of what power looks like in mainstream society. And actually, as I say this, what comes to mind is a comment in my Facebook group, which actually recently was talking about this very thing. And this is really funny because again, talking about synchronicities, I hadn't actually twigged until I just came to record this that was exactly one of the comments that had come up. So I was actually asking for questions for my guest talking about the divine feminine. So yeah, it's really interesting how that has synchronistically led us to be talking about power. Yeah, so well, what a way to start. I didn't even realise. So anyway, as I am here recording as well, I thought it was also appropriate to light my witchy death candle, which if you are in my Facebook group, then you will have seen because I shared it the other day when I was doing a live to release one of the other episodes. So I have my beautiful, it's a gorgeous scent actually, it's berries, it smells really divine. It's called Death and it's by the brand Witchy, who make original scented tarot candles. So I've got that is about transformation. It's blended for transformation. So again, another perfect way to really embody this episode. So yeah, I'm ready to dive in. I've got my crystals, I've got my witchy death candle for transformation. And yeah, so let's get into it. Now, I, as you know, have been in some really deep work for myself as well over the last year. Well, I mean, I've been in work for the last sort of decade, really, but it's been this kind of work that I'm doing about the kind of path of dissension has really only been the last year, really diving into it and seeing the distinction, I guess. And that has really had me see recently the power of liberating what is unconscious. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the journey that I've been on in this episode and the lessons that I've learned. And it's some deep work. So I'm going to be offering some practices that have kind of helped me walk this path and helped me embody invoking the power of my liberated witch. So again, for a while, I was deeply entrenched in the kind of spiritual path of ascension. And I did talk a little bit about that. If you've not already listened, there was the solo episode on why your soul is longing for dissension. So you might want to listen to that. But today, really, we are focusing on invoking the power of our liberated witch. So really, this is about the path of dissension, because for a while, again, I was on the spiritual path of ascension, which is kind of almost like evading our body. This is all about embodiment today. So, and again, the ascension path is a really useful foundation for the work that we will dive into here today. So it's not like that's not useful, but my focus for today really is more the path of dissension to soul. So that is about really embodying the power of our liberated witch, really invoking the liberated witch in our everyday lives. So really this is about choosing to get intimate with the liberated witch that we long to be, and cultivating a deep relationship with her until she feels fully welcome to express herself in your everyday life. And you'll come to understand a bit more what I'm talking about as we move through today. But just to start off with, I guess it really is important to make it clear that the power we are invoking here is one of power from love. So just going back to what I was saying at the beginning of the episode about how our society can be seen as quite patriarchal, I guess. And again, that is coming from our own creation. But what we are talking about here when we talk about power is not that. We are talking about power from love. And by that, I mean, we're talking about harnessing our powerful magic. And I'm going to share actually a quote here that my own coach once shared with me, which was really impactful once I finally got my head around it. So this is a quote from the magician Aleister Crowley, who says, "Love is the law, love under will." Now, when she shared this with me, I actually contemplated this for far, far longer than I should have. And I came to the conclusion that what it points to is how, as witches, we all have an intentional soul will. So that is kind of the personal will that we came here with, or the true will, should I say, that we came here with the opportunity to create our lives as we desire from soul. So the quote really is talking about the idea that really the most important thing in all of this, in the whole journey of soul, is that it is underpinned by love. So love is the law, and love is underneath all of our personal will, or our soul will. So under everything that we long to create is love, basically. So within this kind of lies the first lesson that I learned as I kind of journeyed into the liberated witch, and that is that love is the law of our magical power. So our power is from love. And again, if that's not crystal clear, then I'm still promising to do an episode on this in future. But for now, just to begin to sense into, I guess, the energetic difference of a witch's power, which is power from love, kind of soulful power from love, compared to the mainstream kind of conjured image of power, which again still is our own creation of what that looks like, but just wanted to make that kind of really crystal clear that this power that we're talking about is power from love. So of course, without knowing how power really works, i.e. power from love, we can actually fear power. So just that is really important to make that distinction. So the witch herself is often feared. She's a powerful archetype, a powerful mirror, or a powerful story, I guess, of a woman who's been outcast for her magical powers. So her role as a powerful creatrix has really ultimately had her cast aside and burned at the stake. So So often in reality, the idea of reclaiming our power can be a really scary one for secret witches. And it's often therefore a part of us that is shoved down into the unconscious darkness. And yet our longing for it kind of arises every so often as we long to create life differently, from our radiance, from our intuition, from our fullest expression of magic, and all the more kind of desirable, elegant parts of the witch, I guess. And so because of this kind of misunderstanding about power, often the secret witch, not seeing power from love, kind of pushes her power into the shadow. And from shadow, there's then this kind of unconscious dynamic of flitting between the polarities of either end of the scale of power. So that can be, in practice, that can look like either kind of behaving and feeling entirely powerless and at the mercy of life. So if you're in the shadow of power at one side of the scale, then it would be feeling very powerless, that you haven't got much power, versus at the opposite end of the scale, potentially being in that more masculine idea of power. So this is like over dominating life and attempting to harness the power the way that society knows it, in like a controlling, dominating, kind of shadowy way. And as a secret witch, you'll likely bounce between the two opposites if you are here to be powerful. This is who you came here to be, but you don't quite know yet how to harness it. So as your true power kind of lies hidden, longing to be seen, longing to be liberated in healthy ways, you will likely express either feeling helpless or feeling like you have to control and dominate everything. And I say this because I've been there, and I've been walking this path, and to an extent I still am. You know, there's still work to be done to liberate power in terms of like a healthy expression of power. But just know that if you are struggling with that, then that is likely because you came here with the power to create the magic that you are. You came here to be the powerful magic that you are. So it's completely understandable that there is this shadowy relationship with power, given the kind of learning that we've had about even how life works, because we don't really understand that we're powerful creatrixes. So yeah, really, it's completely understandable. So if that's you, it's a wonderful sign that whilst you might not yet know it in a felt sense, you are a powerful witch. So it's actually a good thing. And you came here to use that power to create the life that you long for from love. So, woohoo, let's go. Now, to invoke that power takes a lot of harnessing of your magic, basically. So, you see, magic is the process of transformation. So, it's about harnessing your power to create your life with focus. And as at the stage that you're at, it might not feel like, as a secret witch, you have any power. Likely you'll feel that life just happens to you. You may feel like the universe is just dishing you out a soulless, mundane life and that you're at the complete mercy of it. And yet that's not true. You are a powerful creator. You'll likely have glimpses of this in what you've created so far just through your sheer determination. So when you are in that kind of shadowier kind of power relationship, when you're kind of being controlling, dominating, it's likely that you've probably created a hell of a lot. And so you might have glimpses of it in that. And yet there's so much work in order to be able to create magic. So you'll likely have glimpses of it, but it may not feel like you've got power, because in a society that kind of almost we learn we don't have power and it looks like it's society's fault, it can really feel that we are victims to this way of being. But I am here to share that that is not true. That is really ultimately why I've created this show, because I want to be of deep service to all of those secret witches who really long to invoke their power and reclaim their own majesty to create a magical life on their terms. And this is the path that I've been walking and want to walk with you on. So again, you may or may not even notice that you've been creating your life all of this time. And I'll be honest, it takes a lot to begin to own that we are the creators of our life, especially if it's not a life that looks like a life that we want. So if we've been creating a life that we don't want, which we have, it takes a lot to own that, because if we're not living a life of magic, we've just been focusing the wrong way. And yeah, it's the inner work that needs to be done. So I'm here to share with you that means you've been the one who's creating the difficult relationships. You've been the one who's created the relationship with money that you have. You've been the one that creates the limited time you seem to have. And you've been doing it all unconsciously. So you've created it all, yet it's unconscious. So this is really important because, as I always say, there's no shame or blame here. And to be able to even just see and admit that we are the ones who have created the life that we've got, especially if we're feeling shame or guilt or sadness about it, which is often the way, it takes so much power to even begin to admit that and see that. So if you are seeing, yeah, this is me, and you're feeling the shame, you're feeling the guilt, just know that the fact that you can even see that you are the creator of it is testament to the amount of power that you have. So imagine then, if you've created all of that unconsciously, what are you going to create from invoking your power consciously? Oh, yeah, I've got goosebumps at that, because it's just like, well, if we've been magically creating our lives the whole time, it's just we've been focusing the wrong way and creating what we don't want. Imagine when we harness that power consciously towards what we actually want to create. Yeah, just kind of mind-blowing, really. It's very exciting. Now, again, focus, it takes a lot to be able to hone our focus in the direction of magic. I am getting a lot better at it. When I have created in the past, unconsciously, I know how much stuff I've powerfully created, and I see the more and more conscious, the more and more focused I get about my magic, the more amazing stuff that I've been creating. And it's like a constant lesson as well. This week my coach as well has reminded me of the beauty of focus, but not just my coach. So I also have a healer, healing doctor, holistic doctor in the Netherlands, because I have suffered with Bell's palsy. So I have admitted that I created that Bell's palsy, and I can see why now, because it was totally a lesson in focus. Like, even my holistic doctor this week was like, Nicole, where is your focus? And I was like, oh, there's that focus lesson again. So it really is a skill. It's something we have to practice. As my coach says, it's something that you kind of almost build muscles for. And I see the more and more focused I get, the more and more magic I create. So you really do have to focus in the direction of what you long for, what you long to create, and take aligned action in order to allow that to manifest and allow yourself to receive it. So again, that's probably it for another episode. But yeah, I've really noticed how when I've got myself focused on what I don't have, which is so common in The Secret Witch, then I get more and more of what I don't want. Whereas if I focus on what I do desire, I am a powerful manifestor. I know that. And so what I focus on, I get more of. So that is basically how the universal law of manifestation works. So if you're only just beginning on this path and you're looking to invoke your own power, I celebrate you for even just being here, first off. And my first offering, I guess, is an invitation for you to really just begin to notice your power in action. So this is a deep invitation into just noticing over the next few weeks, where can I notice what I have already powerfully created? That is a question of inquiry for you. My gift to you for this fortnight is, just really, where can I notice what I've already powerfully created? And that, by the way, doesn't just mean where have I powerfully created what I want. This is an invitation into really looking into the darkness and going, okay, where have I powerfully created what I don't want? So the bad stuff, the stuff that we don't want, where are we creating that? Can we notice how we are creating things? And it's a really deep work. We're going to go more into that in this episode, but this is a really powerful first step for you in invoking your power, because the second that you can begin to own your creation of all things is the second you begin to powerfully reclaim your majesty. So, all that said, I hope it's now obvious that to invoke your powerful witch is a powerful practice. This is a practice. It's something we do because I've talked a lot in the past about non-doing, and that is very much kind of the essential path. So this doing that we're doing, this practice, is very much the descent. It's the willingness to look into the dark and liberate all of that. So we have to be willing to do the deep work to liberate the powerful witch in order for her to step up. She's not missing. She's not gone anywhere. You don't have to become someone you're not. The witch has always been within you, but the work is illuminating the compelling wounds, stories, and ways of being that stop her from showing up, that kind of harness her instead of invoking her. And then we choose the new stories and ways of being that help you to invoke her magical power into daily life. So that is the aim of the powerful practices that I'll be sharing with you today. So just before we do that, I want to share a little bit about the unconscious blocks. So the main reasons, I guess, why you may not have yet invoked your witchy power, despite saying that you want to. And the main reason, of course, is that this work of invoking your liberated witch isn't easy. So it takes focus and commitment, and yet it is the path of soul that will most help you to create a magical life. So if you've not got a magical life yet, it's likely that you just understandably simply aren't invoking a powerful witch. And there are some understandable blocks to that. And these are usually unconscious and may include the following reasons. It's not limited to these following reasons, but it's usually these reasons. So the first one is that often you perhaps don't feel worthy of your power and of taking up space. So you may feel like you're not enough. You may feel like you don't have enough power because likely you haven't been seeing your power of creating what you don't want. You may have the sense that you have some unfulfilled potential, but you're not sure that you're really worthy of your dreams. So that will obviously stop you from invoking your power fully. And you may also not be able to see that you even have that story of worthiness, because I know for me that was hidden buried deep under other layers of beliefs. So that is one to really just sit with and really see if that is something that is part of your story. It's likely it is as a secret witch, because very much that was something within my own journey that I know took me a while to see. So the second thing is that will stop you from invoking your power, likely unconsciously, is the fear of your power and what it might create. So particularly if you have a negative connotation of power, and maybe you have this sense that actually you do have power a lot of the time, you are quite controlling, dominating, but that actually doesn't feel particularly good because it's not power from love. You might have a lot of shame about your power. And you might also be worried that this power, if unleashed, will create change that you're not really sure about. So if you're fearful of your own power, this will obviously, again, likely prevent you being in your power because you fear the outcome of invoking your witch. And then the third thing that's quite common in why you haven't invoked your power yet is because you also get a lot of benefits from not being in your power. So you may be, for example, fully supported by your partner. You might get lots of love and approval from other people that you don't know how to create for yourself. So it might really benefit you actually to not be in your power. And again, this is something that I saw was like, oh, well, if I'm victim, I get so much love. There are real benefits to me not being in my power. I'm going to get everybody else doing everything for me. You know, I can stay a victim and feel like, oh, well, I'm ill. You know, they need to do this for me. There were so many benefits. And so this is quite a big one that we often don't see, because if we're used to getting love, approval and safety from not being in our power, it might be terrifying to invoke our power, even if we say we want to. And again, from all of that, we can often distract away from the journey of invoking our power as well. So these are just some examples, but you can see from those that often there are some really, really unconscious blocks which will draw our focus and attention and commitment away from invoking our full witchy power until we make them conscious. So it really is worth just considering these possible blocks before you dive in, just to ensure that you really do have a conscious awareness of whether they are distracting and pulling you out of your power. So do spend some time with those and just sense into, are these stopping me from invoking the power of my liberated witch? And again, just to hone this point, I mean, it goes without saying in everything we do now, but just to really hammer it home, because I know I've mentioned this in other episodes, but it takes so much love and tending to do this work. So you must really love all parts of yourself for creating life this way, because it was an unconscious creation. So if we are feeling shame about this kind of part of our journey, about how we are with power, we've got to allow ourselves to love ourselves for the way that we've been creating unconsciously, and know that we're now just choosing a new pathway. So we're choosing now to hold on to the tension, the discomfort, the mess of walking a soul aligned path and expanding into our power. We talked actually in the last solo episode about how to tend our nervous systems in order to do that. So again, it might be worth a listen to that too, because likely to get to this point where you're feeling like you want to invoke your power, you'll need to feel safe to invoke your power. So that episode's really good to listen to. But if you've got this far with us in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to invoke the power of the liberated witch, which is really the next step along the path. So how do we invoke our power then? So we're going to really dive into now how we invoke our powerful witch. Now, the first step, as I said, really to welcome all parts of ourselves. So offering the utmost love and compassion to who you are being, how you're showing up in the world right now. Whatever way we're showing up, whether it's a shadowy way or, however it is, we need to welcome and love that. We need to create the safety by loving that kind of, I guess, the inner child within us, to even begin to illuminate where we lack power, where we're in our shadow with power, in order to be able to transform it. So we begin the first step always by offering ourselves as much love as possible. And when we do that, we feel safe to look in the direction of who we long to be. So the second step towards invoking a powerful witch really is to begin to look in the direction of who we desire to be. And it's crucial to invoking the powerful parts of us that long to be heard and seen. We're here in this path to invoke the wild liberated witch. So this is the almighty powerful creator, the healer, the intuitive, the radiant, medicinal, magical soul, those magical parts of you that long to be seen and heard. And these parts may feel far off to you, but trust me, they are in there. That is who you are. If you long for them, they are available to you and within your power to be able to liberate. So getting intimate with who we long to be is the second important step. And you might feel fear to begin with as you step into this dreaming and visioning. And at some point, I'm going to be talking more about visioning. But for now, just really allow yourself to get intimate and simply imagine the woman that you long to be. So that might be a visualization. It might be creating a vision board. It might be anything that kind of really allows you to dream, to kind of imagine who your liberated witch is. Get intimate with her. Do you know who she is? How does she dress? How does she walk? How does she hold herself? What's her ideal day like? All of that sort of stuff is the direction to look in. And again, if we don't feel safe to go there, that can be difficult. So if you get stuck here, don't feel that you're unable to walk this path. It's so common to get stuck at this stage just because of the real lack of safety that we can often feel as we begin this journey. So again, it comes back to loving where you are in this journey. If that is too much for you, then just back off to your edge and then revisit it when you're feeling that it's possible, when you're feeling safe. So again, I've been there, so I really do know how hard it can be. Now, the next most important thing, perhaps the most important thing of all, to be honest, is the decision. The decision to invoke your witch is really you committing to this way of being and to the work of liberating your true self, even if you might not know yet who that is. So even if you've gone to step 2 and you're trying to vision your witch and you don't know this, you can still do this step. You don't need to know who your witch is intimately in order to be able to decide, actually, I'm going to liberate my power. I'm going to invoke my witch. And really, actually, the decision could almost come first, because if it's a scary step to actually see who you long to become, then this decision can be even to just be able to see it. Like if you're committed, you might just commit to seeing who your liberated witch is. So we are kind of living into this. It's not a day's work. So you're not going to go away from this podcast and be like, right, today, all right, I've got this sorted. This is my liberated witch. This is how I'm going to be from now on. You know, we're living into our liberated witch. So if you can't see who that is yet, if you can't see how your power shows up and what you want to create, again, don't beat yourself up. This is just really about making the decision consciously to enter into this work, and that is a powerful choice in and of itself, basically. In fact, to be perfectly honest, most of my clients probably don't know who their liberated witch is. And that is kind of the work of a lot of my one-to-one clients, is really about living into discovering that liberated witch. So if you don't know, that is perfectly okay, perfectly normal. And again, just part of this journey. So again, celebrating you for being on the journey. If you're choosing into it, even better. Like this is what we're aiming for, is this conscious choice to invoke the power of our witch. So the decision itself requires you to dig deep and choose that you are in on this journey to liberate yourself and reclaim your powerful majesty. And that decision itself, and you'll know again if it's a path for you, because you'll be really feeling it, like this is for me. It might feel a lot of fear, but you'll still know if it's for you. And again, try and put the fear aside when you're considering if this is the path. Just that decision alone offers you the power, offers you so much power, and you'll likely notice that this conscious choice on its own begins to open doors, because I've learned that the powerful decisions I've made are usually rewarded. Someone once said that to me and I was like, yes, this really speaks to my soul. For example, every time I've committed to myself on the journey, I've been rewarded in ways that I couldn't have imagined. And it's almost as though in making that powerful soul aligned decision, the universe just says, yes, this is the right way, and often rewards me with whatever I require to make the next step on the journey. That's something I've really learned recently as well. And so, for example, recently I hired some support for my business. I hired a nanny, a podcast editor, and a magical community and connection creatrix. So this was honestly perhaps one of the hugest steps that I've ever made in my business growth. And so it was terrifying, and I did share a post about that over in my Facebook group, but in doing so I was so rewarded for it. So I've really embodied this lesson recently, I have to say, more than ever. So I really do know that this is an important part of invoking your power. So that's great. And you might be like, well, that's wonderful. I'm going to commit, but how? So like, how can you decide to choose into the path of invoking your power? Well, I would invite you to actually, again, make this an embodied decision, an embodied choice. And to do that, I would invite you to find some way of really embodying that in your body. So for example, one of the ways that I would invite you to do that is to create a ritual or ceremony to really celebrate your choice and choose into this new way of being as a powerful way of owning your decision into the commitment. And again, I'll be talking directly to ritual and ceremony in probably the next solo episode. So if you're wanting more ideas, I will share them then. And I also offer rituals in my newsletter as well, so which my lovely new connection creatrix will be helping me with. So yeah, very excited about that. But if you want to sign up to that, then head to my website, sign up to the newsletters, and you will get those. So yeah, and then but an example just for now, for example, of a ritual to choose your new way of being could be so you might go out, for example, on new moon. New moon's a really powerful time for setting intentions, and I'd invite you to really just go out in the dark where the moon's new and just be held by nature. So maybe lying down under a tree and speaking your heart's longings to the moon. And that could be, you could journal, you could kind of let yourself dream about who you long to be and the power you long to invoke, and then speak it out to the moon as your commitment. So this is really kind of, again, that deep intimacy with the woman, the witch, the power that you long to be. And that is a really, really powerful practice to choose into and confirm that this is the path that I've committed to. This is about kind of devoting yourself to becoming and invoking the power of your liberated witch. The most important thing is that you wholeheartedly choose into this way of being fully, so with your heart and soul. And again, you'll know by the feeling of it. It'll feel certain. You'll feel kind of an aliveness in your body. And in actual fact, I would love to hear what this brings alive for you in your body. So if you're listening to this and you do that practice, just reach out and let me know how that went for you, because it is I remember I've done this many times myself. It's a really powerful way of kind of setting your intention consciously. And yeah, it just feels amazing. So I would love to know how that feels to you. And again, if it doesn't feel good, then it's likely you're just not feeling safe. So perhaps, again, revisiting the episode on creating safety in your nervous system as part of this journey. So the next step, once you have fully committed, once you've dreamed about who your witch is, the next step is really about illumination of old stories. So this is to access your most magnificent witchy self. One of the more important steps, again, is that of illumination. And I'll warn you, this is the part that is going to need a lot of tending, because it can feel very messy, very dark, but it really does allow you to access so much gold. I'm actually going to probably be really simplifying this path now, as there is often a lot of work in this step, and so it's not to be taken lightly. There is a lot of illumination required, there's a lot of liberation required, but this is just an invitation into just beginning the work. So there are some ways that I can offer you, like the first kind of tender steps into this journey, so that you can begin to see how impactful it can be. And again, we're living into this. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Again, as I say, illumination involves going into the darkness, really, to look long and deeply with love at your old ways of being. So this is your old stories, your shadow, the parts of you that you no longer desire as you begin to invoke your power. The kind of old patterns, the old beliefs that are stopping your liberated witch being invoked. So I'm going to offer you a question or two to reflect on as part of this element of the journey. So that question is, and again, spend some time with this, don't skip over it, don't rush it, because this is so super important. But the question is, what old mundane stories are familiar that keep coming up again and again, that hold you back from your power? So again, just to give you an example, and again, actually, this is really funny because it ties into that post I mentioned in my Facebook group about kind of the masculine, but so it really is synchronistic. But one of my old mundane stories, for example, is that men are useless and can't be trusted. And I have had this story because my dad left when I was 4 on the first day of school and kind of dipped in and out of my life. And so the story that I learned and the beliefs that I made about that event were that men are useless and can't be trusted. And now I am beginning to see, or I am seeing more and more, that actually that is completely not true. In fact, I do see that. And I can also see that that old mundane story is what I was using to create my life from. And so it's really interesting to begin to notice, A, the old stories that we created about the events that have happened to us in life, but B, how this then plays out in what we create in our life. So for example, from the story that men are useless and can't be trusted, I created sort of ex-partners that I deemed to be useless. I created actually my lack of ability to let a man lead, which actually I longed for. Like, I have always wanted my partner to lead, and yet I have been the one dominating, controlling. And again, really am seeing that story and how that comes alive for me in my relationships, or should I say my relationship, but also my relationships with men in general. So I really felt that men were so useless that I actually created them to be useless and didn't let them be useful. So I, for example, would never let my partner lead anything. So he couldn't really surprise and delight me. I'd demand to be taken places. I'd demand what we do at the weekend. I would demand that I got flowers. I would demand that I would get angry, actually, that he would inevitably get everything wrong. And it was all because I was gripping so tightly to control, because I didn't trust men due to my old story. And again, this is still something I'm living into, but I'm really, really seeing that actually this story is making me over-dominate in my masculine in order to protect myself. And also it means that I can avoid being in my feminine because it just doesn't feel safe to let myself be vulnerable with men. So this is played out in, it's not just with men. This is like my relationship to the masculine and the feminine. It plays into all aspects of life, from relationships to money to food. So I have really seen a lot in this old story. And when I committed to changing that, and I'm being devoted to my new magical story that it's safe for me to be in my feminine and the masculine can surprise and delight me, from there, my focus has been and is entirely different, and has really, really created my life to be so much more magical. There's been so much transformation. I mean, I was like that with food, for example, and I would have at one point had an eating disorder, and now I just don't have that relationship with food at all. There's like this beautiful flowing relationship with food. I'm vegan, I'm gluten free, and actually even with men, because it's quite funny, my partner, I've now created that he provides for me my vegan and gluten free food, and that is just amazing. I really do deeply appreciate that transformation, because I feel really provided for, and that really was not how I saw men at all. So you can see again how just shifting, seeing the old stories, illuminating those old stories really do offer us new ways of being. So the other reflective question, therefore, that goes with that is, what is the new magical story? And again, don't rush this. Really see what you can see about the old mundane stories, the old mundane beliefs, before you then begin to say, what are the new magical stories? Because you need to see as much as you possibly can about the old stories first. And this is important work, because these will be the stories, the new stories, that help you to call in and invoke your power. So yeah, those two questions: what are the old mundane stories that keep coming up and up? And the reflective question of, what are the new magical stories that you're liberated, which will be invoked by? So again, I hope that example helps you see how old stories really are what are creating our lives. The power in this is immense, but it can really take some deep digging and real radical honesty to illuminate and reclaim your power here. And again, that will only come if you are loving and receptive and kind of allowing of all and welcoming of all, even the stuff that doesn't feel lovable. So the more love you can give to the stuff that feels horrible, the more you will see. So that's that step. I'm making it sound like a 5-step process here that's really easy. It's really not. This is just for wherever you are on the journey. It's just an invitation for you to take that next step. So yeah, naturally the 5th step, saying it's not a 5-step process, but the 5th step is really choosing that new story. So once you've done that, we get to choose the new story and really use that to call in the power of your wild witch. And I stress your wild witch because these invocations are bespoke. This isn't just an affirmation used unconsciously and based on what everyone else is doing. doing. Often in self-help, that is the way, you know, we just pick an affirmation that somebody else has created and we just keep repeating that. But actually, without doing the deeper work to see what's conscious, what's unconscious, and bespoking the new story to ourselves, that is completely useless. So this really is an invitation to invoke your witch. It's not about what everyone else is doing. It's not based on somebody else's story. This Live Your Wild Alchemy journey really is a whole bespoke process of diving into your own unique wounds and stories to then be able to harness your individual unique power in a conscious way. So this is speaking directly to your own individual darknesses and liberating those to offer you conscious choice in who you are being in life. So as part of this, I usually have my one-to-one clients create what I call an alchemy incantation. And this kind of sums up who they long to be. So for an example, it might be, I am Wild Witch who embodies spirit, radiance and power, and I'm lovable and worthy of taking up space to serve others and create the business I long for. Now that's just one that I've made up just to give you a little bit of an illustration, but it's basically a sentence that feels energetically as though when you are speaking it, you are literally invoking and calling in the power of who you long to be in the world. So you feel it in your body. This sentence really has to be felt in your body. So this is being used to call in your majesty. This is you calling in the parts of you that are already within you, but have been shrouded in that darkness by all of the old stories and wounds. So this isn't you just invoking something random that you aren't. This is you literally calling back your own wild witchy power from all the lies that you've been speaking to yourself. Understandably. So this is really you focusing on refocusing on the beautifully radiant pieces of you that have always been in there waiting to be seen and heard, and calling your powerful majesty home, really allowing the power of who you really are to be fully expressed. And so the practice in this, the work in this, is to speak this out daily and really feel it in your body, really embody it, using it to refocus when you get pulled back into those compelling old stories that aren't who you are. And again, it's important that you've committed to this work. It's really no use speaking out this alchemy incantation every day if you've not made the conscious choice to liberate yourself and be the witch that you came here to be. That would just be an entirely unconscious way of being, and we're really aiming with this work to be consciously choosing our lives here in invoking our power. So again, there is another offering. You can build on this. This isn't just an invitation into one way of invoking your power. That is one way. Again, if you haven't quite got access to that power, if you can't sense it at all, I'd invite you back into the deeper intimacy building with your powerful witch. So there's no rush to this soul work. You might, again, find your own practices, but just as an example of some others that I found potent, I would invite you into practices like maybe creating a Pinterest board of your liberated witch's character. So again, what she wears, who she socializes with, what she smells, what she tastes, how she moves, what her work is, if you know. This is really kind of allowing you to build up a picture of your liberated witch over time. And again, it's a really nice way of living into invoking the power of your liberated witch as you continue to grow in the direction of your magic. And the aim again here is really that you build deep intimacy with the powerful witch archetype, which is, as I said at the beginning, a mirror for your own power. And the inquiry is always, who is your liberated witch? Also, just to mention at this point, I've got a 7-day secret witch challenge that might be useful in some of this work as well, which you can sign up to on my website. So you have to sign up in the little pop-up that appears when you first go on there. That offers 7 days of inquiry that you might again find quite illuminating in this journey. So do feel free to head over there and take a little look. I'll pop all the links to everything that I've mentioned in this episode in the show notes as well for you. So if you want to find those, then have a little look at those. Now, of course, this, as I've said, this isn't just about dreaming about our liberated witch. So we are aiming to fully embody her. So the next part of the journey really involves choosing ways of being that align with your liberated witch. And you can get creative with this, again, depending on what lights up your soul. So this really is a kind of way of exploring what lights you up, what calls to your soul. For example, to embody and invoke your liberated witch, this might be something like doing sensual dance. It might be through body-led practice where you move as your liberated witch. It might be that you embody her through the clothes that you choose to wear, the makeup that you choose to apply. For example, that's something I've recently done, is like really revamped my wardrobe. Loved it. It was really an amazing investment in myself, because it is literally, you are stepping into your liberated witch every day, really creating her, like with the makeup, doing my eyeliner, really embodied way of invoking my liberated witch. It really is a powerful, powerful way of stepping into her and embodying her. Other ways might be going for more walks in nature. So yeah, this is really a deeper invitation into the soul-aligned actions that help you more deeply call upon and connect with your liberated witch, which is ultimately the woman that you long to become. And the more soul-aligned action you can take here, the more you will become who you long to be. But again, it's not just going out and buying a load of new clothes for the sake of it. This is really cultivating that as part of a conscious choice into your way of being. If you just go out and buy a load of clothes that are like liberated witch without doing the rest of the work, that isn't going to help. That's just kind of unconscious. Again, it's like really consciously, these steps all kind of add up to you invoking your power. So again, I said daily speaking out of the incantation, literally kind of embodying them. And again, the way that I've been doing it, again, makeup has become almost like a daily ritual, an embodied dance to help me embody the woman that I'm becoming. And all of these practices just feel so powerful, so powerful, and just really help your cells, the cells of your body, just feel, yes, this is me. I'm like in my liberated witch power. So it's not just about dreaming, but embodying the invoked witch. And we've talked about the importance of the body again in the previous episode about the descent. So magic can only happen in a body was ultimately what was in that episode. That is like one of the key takeaways. Magic can only happen in a body. So if we are not embodying our witch, then the magic can't happen. So embodiment is a crucial practice of invoking the power of your liberated witch. Without our bodies, we can't create transformation because we wouldn't be here to experience it. So yeah, so I really do invite you to explore soul-aligned ways to embody your power and literally feel the energetic of your invoked powerful witch coming alive in your body. This is the most powerful magic, as this is really when you begin to feel your embodied power. And again, once you've got that felt sense of it, it's really like teaching the body. This is where you come back to when you're getting lost. So again, it's not always easy to keep your focus, so go gently. Just noticing is powerful. So yeah, each time we begin to choose to invoke our power, we are training our focus to become stronger. And like I said, it's like how you know where to come back to. So this can really begin to help you overcome the fear that arises on this path. And by the way, I am totally not immune to fear. The further along the journey almost, often the more fear there is as the choices kind of get bigger. So for example, with the support that I hired in my business, the fear was so great. And it's really then that this kind of building of focus and this embodiment really comes into its own, because the fear no longer rules. Like, we have a different relationship with fear. We know that the powerful part of us is there to show up with love, and we stop creating so much from fear. So again, with this recent hiring of support in my business, the secret witch part of me really did go to town on creating what I didn't want. She was like, oh, you've got no support, and you know, there's so much to do, and there's so much fear in this commitment. And I really did have to focus and choose to invoke my liberated witch. And yet when I did that, within a day of pure refocus on my desire and my dream, pure embodiment, I literally had like 5 nannies, one with a blooming free swimming pool, no less, though I didn't choose her. I found 3 podcast editors and several magical connection creatrixes showed up at my door within the space of a day. And yeah, that was quite magical really, because it's like, wow, when we literally invoke the power of our liberated witch, we can create so much. It's amazing what we can create. So I really did embody that lesson in that. That's kind of why I thought I'd talk to it today, actually, because it was just magical. I mean, I felt so supported, and really kind of choosing to invoke my queen witch really did help me create that with my focus. So this is really what happens when we learn to truly harness our power. And it was quite funny because I think my coach joked that I'd gone from secret witch to liberated witch on steroids within the space of about 5 minutes. So yeah, as you do move along the journey, you'll become more practiced at the practice of invoking your power. Now we're almost out of time because I tried to keep these to an hour, but yeah, I just wanted to finish by saying that this kind of invoking your witch power can sometimes just seem, especially if you take the individual components of the journey, like the dreaming or the embodiment, it seems often like it's just a nice to have. But actually, you can see from this process, the deeper work, all of it, the whole thing, the whole journey is not just a nice to have. This is true life creation. So invoking your wild witch really can sound like it's just an added luxury, but it is completely not that at all. This is really, really deep work. This is really foundational stuff which offers us the pathway into how we can create our lives as we desire. This isn't just, oh, let's go out and play with witchy stuff to have fun. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to buy a new wardrobe. This step-by-step process is like really foundational magic. You know, it's not just, oh, let's go and play with some essential oils and create rituals for the sake of it. This is invocation of our power so that we can create our lives the way we want. We can design the life of our dreams exactly as we desire. And so, for example, with me, I am designing my life so that I can create time with my daughter, the time that I want with my daughter. I can, really be of deep service to the secret witches who are longing to liberate themselves and spend time exactly how I want. My week is exactly how I am wanting it to be. With the time for my self-care, with the time with my baby, with the time with my business, all of it. This is how it's being created. This invocation of our power is so that we become the creators of our lives and we can design the life of our dreams exactly as we desire. So it's not just a nice to have. This isn't playing with magic for no reason. This is harnessing our power so that we can manifest a magical feeling life and be who we came here to be. So this is really learning how we create life intentionally to affect real change so that we can live a life of soul and feel truly fulfilled and living our purpose. And the key word really there is intentionally. We didn't come here to be victims of our lives. We didn't come here to just be at the mercy of the universe. We came here to co-create intentional lives between the universe and the soul. And so invoking your power involves intentional magic. And this is really important to know because everything we create is up to us. And we are creating everything. So we are the intentional creators of our lives, and we can choose to do this unconsciously, which is really like not an easy road. Or we can do it consciously. And yes, there might be fear shows up, but it's still conscious, intentional, and magic, and will lead you into being able to live a life of soul and create the magic that you came here to create. So yeah, that felt really important to just express, I think. And again, just to finish off, obviously unconsciously, we will use our magic to create what we don't want, which is likely what you've been doing until now. And it's certainly what I have done in the past when life at the time looked very dramatic, because I'm such a wild witchy manifester that I created unconsciously a life that I didn't really want for a long time. And so consciously, really invoking our power to reclaim our majesty and create life exactly as we desire, we just create so much magic. So whatever we want, we can use magic to transform our lives. And this is really ultimately what invoking the power of our liberated witch is about. So the ritual, all of that stuff is really an added bonus of magic because it's a fun and magical feeling in of itself, but it's by no means play, because when we use it intentionally, it's absolutely necessary as part of the path of magic. So the work of the witch is necessary for life creation. In fact, without invoking your witchy power, you will not be able to easily create your life as you desire. I suspect least unless you work really, really hard at forcing it, which even still won't be as effective. So yeah, we're done. That is all I wanted to share, I think, in this episode. So yeah, I'm just going to leave you with that. The choice is yours. How will you create life? Yeah. Do you decide into invoking your power? Go ahead, enjoy that journey, enjoy wherever you are right now on that journey. And if I can be of any support to you, do reach out and let me know. I'm always around in my Facebook group, so feel free to join us over there. We're building a gorgeous community of secret to liberated witches. And yeah, I'll see you there. Lots of love. Well, that was so much fun. I hope it really helped illuminate how magical the practice of invoking our power can be. I'm going to be sharing more on power from love another time, so keep listening. But for now, my key takeaways are: power is not really created how we know it in society. It comes from love. Love is the law of everything we do. We are all powerful creators of our whole lives. Owning that we have created a life we don't want is the first step into reclaiming our majesty and power. We need to get intimate with the liberated witch we long to be, so she feels welcome to express in our everyday life. There are some unconscious reasons why, even though we may say we long to liberate our power, we might not actually create from it. And these need to be illuminated so we can make the conscious choice to liberate our powerful witch. The journey is about illuminating the darkness of our old stories that hold us back from embodying and expressing our power in beautiful, soul-aligned ways. It's no good to just undertake parts of the journey in isolation, though. The journey requires illumination, tending of wounds, and commitment to our new story and the practices that help us embody new ways of being with our power. This practice of invoking our power is real magic. It's not just a nice to have, it is absolutely crucial for life creation. If you'd like to get the show notes and links for everything we've chatted about in this episode, head to www.secretwitch.co.uk. If you know a secret witch who would love this episode, please share with them to help them liberate themselves. And so you don't miss out on next week's episode, head to your podcast app of choice and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.